events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You can make him stop. No,
Shut your mouth.
Come on, Franklin. It's gonna be a fun trip.
You can have dinner with us.
He don't like it, ain't that right? You're just a cook. Shut your mouth.
That's crazy. You gotta make us stop. Please.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies Podcast, a show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor. And we're back.
Can leave that not so best at the door this week.
Yeah, very much so.
This was very deliberate on our part.
Yeah.
We've said it. We've said it last week.
Deliberate, and yet accidentally we made this the perfect choice for this episode.
Yep.
I'm not even going to pretend like we did this on purpose, because we didn't realize until today, I think, that...
I realized last night when I was watching the movie and I was looking over some stuff and I saw the release date and I went, wait, carry the one? Oh, shit!
Yeah. So as it turns out, and we had no idea even when we said it last week, that today, to the day, is the exact 45th anniversary of this film.
October 1st, 1974.
Exactly. And the movie we are covering is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The only film we're taking seriously for the month of October.
Yep.
It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Why am I even pretending? We got a lot to cover, and we'll get to it. So we're going to October 1st, 1974 for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, so here we are. It's 1974. Neither one of us is born. We have no anecdotes to share.
Nope.
Other than this might be one of the few movies that when I was a child actually kind of creeped me out. Because I saw this for the first time probably at 12. Because that's me, folks. I'm a horror fan, and I have been since I was a little kid. So this might have freaked me out slightly. I do remember specifically one scene.
I wouldn't even know what, not to insult you, but the typical child would, the more, I guess, normal child would look at this and just, with the leather face of it all, and the fucking people getting hit over the head with sledgehammers, and... As per usual, my 15-year-old sister, who was, like I said, was 3 years older than me, was basically watching it with her hands covering her eyes. And so that's basically what a normal human would do. I've loved horror since I was a little kid, so I was just like, this is great. I loved this. And I was actually quite annoyed because I didn't know about the sequels. Until the fourth one came out, the New Beginning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, Next Generation, sorry, yeah. And I'm like, that looks like shit. And I didn't realize it was the fourth one, because it says Next Generation. I was just like, oh, that must be the sequel, that looks like crap, I'm not watching it. I didn't know about 2 and 3 until I was in my 20s, and I saw them, and I'm like, they're fucking genius. This is what happens when there's no internet, kids. You can't learn this shit fast. 3 is pretty good, but 2 is just batshit insane. I love it. 2 is great. 2 is great. 3, I don't even remember. Yeah. In all honesty, I think we were talking about it the other day. I forgot it existed. It's because of Dennis Hopper in the second one. Yeah, that helps. What? I saw that today in the store. I should have picked it up. Yeah, I do need to own it. Whatever. That being said, let's get into it, because we have a lot of notes to cover anyway. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed and produced by Tobe Hooper. Story and screenplay by Kim Henkel and Tobe Hooper. Production company Vortex. Distributor Bryanston. Distributing company. Box office of $30.9 million against a budget of, whoever you ask, but somewhere between $80,000 and $140,000. I think that was successful. Mm-hmm. So the cast, very small. Marilyn Burns is Sally Hardesty.
Alan Danziger is Jerry. Paul A. Pertain is Franklin Hardesty. William Vales Kirk. Terry McMinn is Pam. Edwin Neal is the hitchhiker, later named Nubbin Sawyer. Jim Seedow is the old man, later named Drayton Sawyer. Gunnar Hansen is Leatherface, and John Dugan is grandfather. So, that being said, let's get into the production of this flick. Oh boy. So, apologies. A lot to get through. I'm going to be reading this fast, so I'm going to fuck it up a lot. I apologize. Tobe Hooper came up with the concept while working as an assistant film director at the University of Texas as a documentary cameraman. He credited the graphic coverage of violence in by San Antonio news outlets as one of the inspirations for the film. Some elements of the story were taken from the life of grave robber and murderer Ed Gein, but over the years, that that influence on the film has been slightly exaggerated.
Been a couple movies based on that.
Yeah, there's been a lot, but again, like in a world where Ed Gein wasn't a serial killer, he's usually portrayed as a serial killer in any sort of homage thing, like Psycho. He kills more people.
Yeah, like in Psycho is one of those movies where it's just like I don't see any of that. But
the obsession with his mother.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's about it. Like Psycho was the least. Like this one at least has a lot of the like things like with the the furniture covered in human skin and stuff like that. That was Ed Gein, but generally the murdering and that, not Ed Gein really was just a grave robber. I mean, not good, like not condoning what he did, but I'm just saying, not a serial killer. With Kim Hinkle saying, I definitely studied Gein, but I also noticed a murder case in Houston at the time. A serial murderer you probably remember named Elmer Wayne Henley. He was a young man who recruited victims for an older homosexual man. I saw some news reports where Elmer Wayne said, I did these crimes and I'm going to stand up and take it like a man. Well, that struck me as interesting that he had this conventional morality at that point. He wanted it known that now that he was caught, he would do the right thing. So he had this kind of moral schizophrenia. It's something I tried to build into the characters. Hooper has cited changes in the cultural and political landscape as central influences on the film. His intentional misinformation that the film you are about to see was true was a response to being lied by the government about things that was going all over the world, including Watergate, the 1973 oil crisis, and the massacres and atrocities in the Vietnam War. The lack of sentimentality and the brutality of things that Hooper noticed was while watching local news, whose graphic coverage was epitomized by showing brains spilled all over the road, led to his belief that man was the real monster here, just wearing a different face. So I put a literal mask on the monster in my film. The idea of using a chainsaw as a murder weapon came to Hooper while he was in the hardware store section of a very busy store, contemplating how to speed his way through the crowd. Which, that would do it. Just saying.
Just rev it up and people...
Exactly. You'll definitely run. Hooper and Henkel co-wrote the screenplay and formed Vortex Incorporated with Henkel as president and Hooper as vice president. They asked Bill Parsley, a friend of Hooper, to provide funding. Parsley formed a company named MAB Inc., through which he invested $60,000 into the production. In return, MAB owned 50% of the film and its profits. This gets a little complicated, so bear with me. Production manager Ron Bozeman told most of the cast and crew that he would have to defer part of their salaries until after it was sold to a distributor. Vortex made the idea more attractive by awarding them a share in the potential profits, ranging from 0.25 to 6%, similar to mortgage points. The cast and crew were not informed that Vortex had already owned 50%, which meant their points were worth half of the assumed value. So there's more of that to come. There was a reason I put that in there. It's not just I wanted things to be boring. During development, Hooper used the working titles of Head Cheese and Leatherface, and also Leatherface Stocks. Many of the cast members at the time were relatively unknown actors, Texans who'd played roles in commercials, television, and stage shows, as well as performers whom Hooper knew personally, such as Alan Danziger and John Seedow. The lead role of Sally was given to Marilyn Burns, who appeared previously on stage and served on the Film Commission Board at UT Austin, while studying there. Terry McMinn was a student who worked with the local theater companies, including the Dallas Theater Center. Henkel called McMinn to come in for a reading after he spotted her picture on the Austin American Statesman. For her last callback, he requested that she wear short shorts, which proved to be the most comfortable of all the cast members' costumes. So apparently, she already had the part, and then it's just like, wear short shorts. That's going to be your outfit. Sure.
Who wears short shorts?
Apparently you do if you're going to get put on a hook. Just saying.
Yep. Spoilers for a 45-year-old film.
Uh-huh. Another actor had been initially cast in the role, but just before shooting was scheduled to begin, the man refused to leave his hotel room in a drunken delirium, reneging on his commitment. That was for Leatherface. Sorry, I forgot to add that in there. So yeah, some other actor had been cast as Leatherface, but he refused to leave his hotel room because he didn't want to do it. Because I guess he was messed up by it. I don't know. Gunnar Hansen later said that his predecessor got last-minute jitters about karma for his soul. Gunnar Hansen originally turned down the role of Leatherface due to sheer brutality of the plot. He was then persuaded by Marilyn Burns, who was kind of a friend of him at the time. Tobe Hooper allowed Gunnar Hansen to develop Leatherface as he saw fit, under his supervision. Hansen decided that Leatherface was mentally challenged and never learned to talk properly, so he went to a school for the mentally handicapped and watched how they moved and listened to them talk to get a feel for the character. He also tried his best to make his portrayal as non-offensive as he could. Many fans, including those who are mentally challenged, say he succeeded very well and thanked him for his portrayal.
Yeah, he's not a caricature.
No.
He's not...
No,
you know,
he's
not a cartoon character.
Not at all.
That's just how someone who's mentally challenged
would act.
Especially under
this situation.
Under the circumstances that Leatherface finds himself in.
Exactly. Leatherface had lines in the script that were gibberish with little side notes indicating what he was trying to say. So he's actually communicating, is what that's getting at. Leatherface wore 3 different masks: the killing mask, the old lady mask, and the pretty woman mask. Gunnar Hansen commented, the reason he wore a mask, according to Toby and Kim, was that the mask really determined his personality. Who he wanted to be that day determined what mask he put on. So when Drayton comes home with Sally, Leatherface is wearing the old lady mask, and he's wearing an apron and carrying a wooden spoon. He wants to be domestic, helpful in the kitchen. At dinner, he wears a different face, the pretty woman, which has makeup. The pretty woman outfit consists of a female wig and a black suit, as Leatherface is dressing up for dinner. An old Deep South tradition which stems from his southern upbringing. And the killing mask is the skin mask he wears while chasing and murdering captives. Hansen later added, the idea of the mask is that there is no personality under the mask. When they created the character, they said, he has to put on masks to express himself because he himself cannot do it. The way he tried to create him, there is nothing under the mask, which is what makes him so frightening. John Larroquette performed the narration in the opening credits. His payment was a joint.
Give you a doobie.
Pretty much. The primary... Apparently, he also has never seen the movie.
Why
I
wait?
ain't watching that shit.
Give me my weed so I can leave. Thank you.
Pretty much. The primary filming location was an early 1900 farmhouse located on Quick Hill Road near Round Rock, Texas. To save money with the high cost of equipment rentals, the crew filmed 7 days a week, up to 16 hours a day.
Oh.
The environment was humid, and the cast and crew found conditions tough. Temperatures peaked at 110 degrees, 43 Celsius. On July 26th, Hansen later recalled, it was 95-100 degrees every day during filming. They wouldn't wash my costume because they were worried that the laundry might lose it, so that it would change color. They didn't have enough money for a second costume, so I wore that mask 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month. By the end of the film, he smelled so bad, no one would sit next to him at lunch or even stand near him. Poor guy.
Nobody wants to sit with Leatherface.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, Gunner, but you know, man.
You smell bad.
You smell funny.
Burns' costume was so drenched in stage blood that it was virtually solid by the last day of filming.
Oh.
That's fucked up.
It's Jell-O.
Yeah, kind of. It's basically maple syrup and food coloring. So that shit is just going to harden. It's sugar.
Jello.
Yeah. There's always room for Jell-O.
Oh.
There you go. Hansen hit his head on doorways and other objects several times during the shoot because Leatherface mask severely limited his peripheral vision.
His peripheries are off.
Uh-huh. And the 3-inch heels he wore made his 6'4" frame too high to clear all obstacles. In the scene where Leatherface is chasing Sally through the trees, even with the lifts, Hansen was a faster runner than Burns. So if you look, you can actually see him slashing at branches with the chainsaw to buy her time. Which I noticed as well.
Run faster!
Yeah. Damn it, move it! In the iconic scene when Leatherface swings his chainsaw in frustration because Sally gets away, Hansen was directed to look frustrated, and he knew stomping his feet in anger would not suffice. he changed it to